First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, this is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'm here live streaming from the Fox 12 Oregon studio, but that is a look at our Maryhill camera, looking right there on the Columbia River. You can see the I-5 bridge in the background, and I'm showing you this because, well, it's the closest camera I have to what we are going to be talking about, which is a bit further upstream there, but the Bridge of the Gods, of course, that bridge crossing there at Cascade Locks over to the Washington side, right near Stevenson on that side, and the importance of it. So we live stream here every weekday. We go from 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. We cover a wide range of topics, including things like this, where we get to have a longer form discussion about it. And there's a lot to talk about here because the Bridge of the Gods is 100 years old here in 2026. That's amazing. And there is a project that's ongoing, and we've just got some information back about that recently, just a study of the bridge to find out, how it's doing. So we're going to learn about both of those things during this interview. To do so, we've got our guests joining us right now. We've got David McCurry, we've got Janice Crane, and thank you to both of you for being here. And, we're going to start off with the history, but before we do that, would you two mind just introducing yourselves and letting us know, your roles with your organizations there that you work for?
Yeah, Janice, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. My name's Janice Crane. I'm the executive director of the Friends of the Cascade Locks Historical Museum, which is the nonprofit that operates the Cascade Locks Historical Museum.
And David?
Yeah, so David McCurry, bridge engineer, been here in the Northwest 26 years doing bridge engineering and working on this project as the project manager for this study of the bridge.
Nice. It's excited to have both of you here, as I mentioned. And, I think to start off, maybe we should just go back to this 100 years, of the Bridge of the Gods. And Janice, I don't know if you'd be the expert on this, but or somebody to tell us just a little bit about that history and, going way back there to 1926, some of the stories of that bridge.
Yeah, going back even further. So the idea came in 1917 when they were wrapping up construction on the interstate bridge between Portland and Vancouver. There was a man named George S. Allen who worked on the Columbia River Highway project, and he saw the opportunity to bring together investors to put in the next Columbia River Bridge near Cascade Locks. They formed the Bridge of the Gods. I'm sorry, it's the Columbia River Interstate Bridge Corporation, and they built the first pier for the bridge, and then they threw a really big ceremony to attract investors and funding. So over 3,000 people attended the first pier dedication at the Bridge of the Gods, and but ultimately they were not able to fully fund that project, and then quietly sold the contract over to the Wanna Bridge Company, who did this construction that you see here between 1925 and 1926. The bridge itself finally opened on October 26, 1926. And as you see there, it wasn't quite all the way finished when they opened it up. They brought the car out to drive across, and they actually laid down boards to be able to make that final jump. And it was a very exciting day for everyone when the bridge was finally completed.
That looks so scary looking at that. I don't know whether it's just because it's the older pictures, but I'm like, I would not walk out on that thing. But I'm sure it was perfectly sound and perfectly fine. And obviously, 100 years now that this bridge has been there. And, talking about that and, there's some great facts there just of the bridge itself. But, once this thing was built, how important has this been, and maybe especially back then, of course, but even now, for connecting those communities between the Oregon and Washington side?
Yes, it's a key piece of infrastructure for connecting both our communities and our tourism with each other. So the bridge was originally conceived of as a tourism asset so that you could drive a loop between the Columbia River Highway and the North Bank Highway. And that was right when car travel was becoming really popular. People were getting their own cars. It was really exciting and spontaneous to be able to just go drive for the day. But prior to that, you would have had to take a ferry to get across. So it made a huge difference to the communities of Cascade Locks and Stevenson to build that asset.
That's interesting that tourism was one of the driving factors for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, the Columbia River Highway was the first scenic highway in the United States. So the whole project was about accessing the beauty of the Columbia River Gorge.
Yeah, and accessing that and just being able to enjoy that area there. Well, I mean, for the bridge, itself too, being 100 years old, could you tell us about this project, that's come about to study the bridge?
Yeah, I'll just briefly touch on that. I mean, the port has been interested in a long time in looking at long-term preservation of the bridge, given its significance to the community, the area, the port, even the tribal connections and the story and the lore behind the name of the Bridge of the Gods. So the state of Oregon funded this project, which was very generous of the state and the legislatures in Salem. And the study is about looking at the long term. How long can we continue to preserve it and keep it as a regional asset?
You touched on that, and of course, I was remiss to ask this. What is the story of the name of the Bridge of the Gods?
Yeah, Janice has got probably the best history on this. You want to start, Janice?
Yeah, so the Bridge of the Gods, the name comes from an indigenous legend and oral history that were popularized during the 1800s through Romantic literature. The legend was that based on a landslide that happened between 250 and 400 years ago, the entire Columbia River was blocked by that landslide, and it backed up the water and eventually probably washed away underneath to form a land bridge, which in the language that was recorded was Tamanawa, which was translated to Bridge of the Gods.
Fascinating. So the legend is there was a land bridge there before
Yes,
this bridge.
and it's in approximately the same location.
Wow, amazing. That's such great lore for that, and I mean, and it's a really cool sounding name. On top of that, I mean, that's that's pretty good. So talking about the study, what goes into something like that for studying a bridge that's 100 years old?
Yeah, so just a couple quick things, and I'll just maybe mention a few of the more interesting things. Janice mentioned the landslide. One of the things that we've done that we were able to do already as part of this study is to drill down into the earth and really see what's down below the bridge. And one of the interesting findings in doing that, we went down about 200 feet on both sides of the river into old geologic history, looking back even before the landslide into old bedrock materials. And so that's just one example of what we've done. But we found actually that the landslide isn't as deep. It's mostly coming in the landslide mostly came from the north side, from the Washington side, and blocking the river. But at the place where the bridge is at, actually, it's mostly bedrock below the bridge with not as much landslide material. That's just one example. Also, as part of the study, we actually were able to use drones and modern technology to scan the bridge and create a 3D digital model of the bridge, and then be able to do analysis from that model.
And I'm looking at some of the images too that were sent over. I talked about that first one making me nervous. This makes me nervous looking at these two guys who obviously know what they're doing. But man, so that's I'm sure a tremendous amount of work of studying something like that. And in addition to finding out more about the bedrock and things like that, what are some of the important things that you look at when studying a bridge like this, as far as the structure itself?
Yeah, I mean, we look at everything. We look at all the different things that could be applying loads or deteriorating the bridge, even just weather with time or the river itself. As part of this study, we actually were able to do some diving around the piers to better understand what's happening down, deep in the water. It's about 80 feet deep at the deepest pier location. So that was, a really important part of the study. We also just build digital models of the bridge. We take all the structural parts, the nuts and bolts of it, and we put that together in a model that's in a computer so that we can analyze all kinds of different things that could happen to it and apply modern codes and criteria to that model to check safety and things like that.
This may not be something you have an answer to. I'm just curious about this. Over the 100 years, how many times has the bridge been maintained, as far as getting upgrades or things like that?
Actually, the port has done a fair amount of work in maintaining and upgrading the bridge. Even before the port bought the bridge in the 1960s, there was work done. It had been redecked. The original deck was timber, if you can believe it. Also, there was an important part of its bridge's history. It was raised about 45 to 50 feet in the 1930s when the Bonneville Dam went in. So prior to that, it was quite a bit lower, obviously. So everything had to be raised up, and it was quite an undertaking in the 30s, early 30s, to raise this bridge before we had computers and modern equipment. So it's seen a lot of repair and maintenance. Just that's pretty typical for a bridge of this age, and the port's done a fantastic job since the 60s of just keeping it going.
And when we're talking about, some of that maintenance, that's wow, raised for 40 to 50 feet. I mean, that's just nuts in itself back
Yeah.
then. But when you look at where the bridge is now, what are some of the things you have planned for going forward, at least as far as the study to understand, the resilience of the bridge of where it's at?
Yeah, the study's not over. We're just partway through. But the plan overall, the goal is really to find out what is it going to take to preserve it. Different things may need to happen at different points in time. Simple things like painting, and more complicated things like looking at the seismic retrofits and just seismic resiliency of the bridge. We don't have final answers on that right now, but we're looking at what that is and what that may need to be, and even how that may be different from other bridges in the region. Many of you listeners maybe know about the earthquakes in the Northwest. So, we as engineers, we study that very carefully and make sure that we understand what earthquakes may have an impact on bridges like this.
Gotcha. So that's part of the
Yeah.
study there. At some point, we'll have a better idea of that, of what some of those upgrades may need to be if that's the case, like,
Yeah,
and things like
that's
that.
correct. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Anything else that you think is important for people to know just about Bridge of the Gods and just that area right there? And Janice, maybe this is something from your organization.
Yeah.
Sure. We're celebrating and commemorating this year with some new exhibits. We'll have new exhibits at the museum and a online, and then also a traveling exhibit that's going to be in a couple different places. Thanks to the Oregon State Capitol Foundation, it'll be down there. There's also many community events planned to celebrate the 100th anniversary. So we've got this beautiful bridge, and we want to show it how much we love it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it really is just if anybody is new to the area and has not been out there before, obviously get out there. But it is, taking a look right here, just even at some of this footage, it's a pretty amazing piece of architecture, and obviously very functional and very important for everything going on there. Anything regarding the future of the bridge that people need to know?
Yeah, maybe the most important thing is the whole idea behind the study is to preserve the bridge. There's a lot of talk in the region about replacement, but the whole idea here is it's an important historical asset that the port would like to continue to maintain and operate and keep resilient into the future. So it is actually quite unique in terms of bridges. I've worked on bridges across the country, and there's not a bridge engineer in the country where you mention the name Bridge of the Gods and everybody pays close attention, and it is actually unique and a beautiful location. So we hope to keep preserving it.
Nice. Well, looking forward to finding out more about that study. And thanks to both of you, for all this information that you just provided us and all the work that you both do for that area there, both the bridges and of course, for the communities around there and for all of us to get to enjoy it. So thanks so much. I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us here on Fox 12 Now.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
And for everybody watching, again, as I mentioned, this is Fox 12 Now. We're live streaming here. We're going to go ahead and sign off for right now. We will be back here shortly, though. We've got lots more coming up this afternoon, and we'll have that all for you right here on the website and the apps. So thanks for being a part of it. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.